January 1943, north of Rzhev. Night fog hangs over the ice like smoke. Headlights cut through the darkness with narrow blades, and the cold surface responds with short flashes. The wind whispers somewhere to the side, engines hum in the distance, smoothly, confidently, as if in training. But this ice is no road. It listens, endures, and remembers every step. There will be no cry of "forward" and no volley of shots. There will only be a moment when everything goes wrong. Another minute, and this silence will reveal why it was preserved. And the column will understand that the entrance is common to all, but the exit is not for everyone. Here is the hero. Before the war, he was a forest technician and bridge builder. He repaired decks, watched as water eroded piles, and knew the value of every degree of frost. He always carries a small thermometer in his pocket, not for the weather, but for the ice. On his belt is a rope with knots to measure the depth of cracks by touch. In his hand is a worn ice axe. He is unhurried and quiet. His strength lies in looking longer than others and noticing what others call trifles. He sees where the snow has fallen unevenly, where the ice is lighter than usual, where the wind has pierced the crust like a needle. He counts his steps, listens to the silence, remembers the smell of water. He is not a hero in a greatcoat. He is a guide in the cold science of survival. The map is as simple as the line of fate, a single ice road across a frozen lake. The enemy uses it to supply the front, fuel, ammunition, bread. We tried to ambush the convoys, but we have no ammunition, no mines, no reserves of strength. Every shot is a luxury, every explosion a risk. And the road lives by its own cold schedule. Night, headlights, equal intervals between vehicles. We need a method that doesn't require thunder. We need a silent strike that works on its own without shooting or shouting. A strike after which the engines stall and the snow remains clean and silent. Eureka comes not with thunder, but with the whisper of ice. Ice is not a solid slab, but layers and cracks, like glass after an impact. Where underwater springs flow, it is thinner, half a degree warmer, and always tense. Weak zones appear in these places, and every vibration there multiplies like an echo. The idea is simple. Don't break the whole lake, just sow one line. Make the ice seem a narrow strip of hidden weakness across the ice road. Not a bomb, not a mine. A quiet thread that will withstand the wind and animals, but will give way under a heavy axle. Controlled collapse at the right moment, in the right place, when the convoy is already in the middle. The ice will do the rest. The night stretches quietly, like the breath of a lake. The hero goes out onto the ice before dawn. In his hand is an old but trusty ice auger. He drills shallow holes along the line of the future seam, marking the points with chalk and his fingernail so they don't shine. From each hole, he cuts thin capillary grooves with a knife toward the warm spring. Water will flow through them like veins, melting the ice from the inside. To prevent the water from spreading, he places sandbag dams, small mounds made of bags filled with sand and snow. He cuts a narrow gutter and hides it under a layer of ice and frost. There are no traces in the open. The soles are smoothed with pine boughs, and he scatters the crumbs with a willow broom. Where the ice is strong, he adds silent risks with an ice axe, not all the way through, just to relieve the tension and direct the crack along his line. On the shore, he prepares 2 small canisters of water, one with snow slush, the other from a spring, half a degree warmer. At the signal, they will be poured into the grooves, and the thread will be started. The final touch is decoy markers, red rags at fake pits and markers on the safe side. The column will go where it seems to be clear, and will definitely hit our seam. The ice will remember this trajectory better than any map. He leaves first, like a shadow. He draws decoy tracks in the snow, looping ski tracks, arcs, loops, short turns, as if the group had rushed and hurriedly turned right. He pulls a small sled so that the sled runners leave smooth tracks and cover up any extra footprints. At the old bridge, he quietly loosens a couple of boards, knocks out the nails, and leaves obvious traces of danger. The sappers will see this and decide the bridge is unsafe. It is better to go around on the ice. He throws in a couple more clues, scraps of tarpaulin, traces of a fresh shovel, and disappears into the fog. Everything points to one thing. The safe path is where the ice is already waiting. The column stretches out like a thin snake. The lead vehicle slips past, its tracks rustling on the smooth crust, while the middle ones stop right above the prepared slab. At this moment, everything shrinks into a single thread. The hero lies in the snow, his palm on a thin trigger rope hidden under the snow. One sharp movement. The small load breaks loose and clatters briefly in the darkness. Off to the side, behind the bushes, the safety prop, a small snow and sand dam support, comes out of its socket. Warm water collected in the feeder channel rushes down the carved runoff groove and hits the ice seam precisely. First, there is a quiet crack, as if a wet branch were breaking. Then, a thin web of cracks spreads in different directions. The ice trembles, sags, and suddenly gives way under the weight of the metal. The edge sinks, the slab breaks, and the medium-sized machines sink into the black water without a single shot. Silence returns, but it is different now. The Germans rush about on the ice, their cries breaking through the steam. Combat engineers jump into the waist-deep ice slurry, attach ropes, and try to pull, but the equipment gets stuck like chewing gum. The ice around the seam breathes and crunches, each attempt to accelerate only tearing it apart more. We don't shoot. We lie in the snowdrifts and just listen to the water doing its job. The wind picks up, the sky brightens, and a hard frost sets in. The edges of the cracks are covered with a glassy crust, and everything left on the slab freezes along with it. Engines, canisters, boxes, tracks. By noon, the ice has become a prison. No way forward, no way back. The supply route, the only winter road across the lake, is closed not by order, but by nature, slightly pushed by man. This creates a forced pause for days. Convoys are disrupted, gasoline does not arrive, and the front, beyond the forest, exhales for the first time. Remember one line: 0 rounds, 0 mines, 1 ice seam, 1 lost convoy. A battle without a shot fired, when knowledge of the terrain and physics works louder than artillery. One person reads the map differently. A spring is a key, a stress line is a lever, ice is a tool. It is not strength that wins, but attention to detail and patience to wait for hard frost. This episode ends with silence, which disrupts supplies for days, and then it gets even quieter. In the next episode, I will show how an ordinary rope and snow turn a night road into a maze for convoys.